I was trying to get any reporter, honestly, to come speak, and so many of them are afraid. I've had various reporters that I've attempted to get in the documentary who have told me stories about Blake, but are afraid to tell them on the records.
That it is my opinion that you may be strongly biased in favor of Miss Lively, and I may not be able to get a fair outcome in your court.
Oh my God, it looks like this Blake Lively subpoena stuff has now become international as people from Latin America are allegedly getting subpoenaed.
It's just crazy. It's all so crazy. And it makes me sad. I'm sure most of you know, but this case in real time is just another reminder that there are two legal systems in this country. One for normal people, and one for those with unlimited financial resources.
For years, certain corners of Hollywood media operated under an unspoken rule. You didn't openly criticize certain stars if you wanted to keep access. Blake Lively was one of those untouchable names. Journalists might swap stories behind the scenes, but they rarely went public.
I've met her.
Oh,
okay.
How was it?
Yeah, same, but I want to hear your experience.
So they're both about to share their experiences. You ready for this?
She was, oh my God, I've never actually told this story.
Tell it.
She's like afraid. They're all afraid, but here she is. Okay, I guess I gotta tell Sirius XM Page 6 Radio.
You're page 6ing yourself.
That quiet agreement is starting to crack. Now, a new wave of reporters are finally speaking without filters. And what they're sharing isn't the carefully curated image fans have been sold. These aren't random internet rumors. These are accounts from professionals who've spent their careers navigating red carpets and press junkets.
I had been told what question to ask her. Normally we wouldn't do that. But again, like this was for television.
Yeah.
We just needed her to say something cute.
Right.
And in the middle of this shift, an unexpected legal twist is dragging another controversial figure into the spotlight.
Just tell me anything nice, because again, she's doing a job. These reporters are there doing a job to promote her work.
And she said to me, did you even see Age of Adeline? It doesn't just take place in the 30s. It takes place over 3 decades. And then she stomped away. And I was sort of like,
Are you kidding?
A fresh court filing has suddenly made me, and others, defend a celebrity gossip veteran we never thought we'd side with. It's a strange collision of reputations, grudges, and unexpected alliances. But behind all the drama lies a bigger story, the cracks in the celebrity media power dynamic, and how those cracks might finally be letting the truth spill out.
And I have done nothing wrong. I'm not afraid of Blake Lively. I'm not afraid of this judge.
Why am I getting subpoenaed? He's telling his audience, because I made a couple videos about Blake Lively.
Page 6 is a name that rarely gets caught up in public feuds. Their reporters typically keep interactions with celebrities within the bounds of polished write-ups and official statements. For years, I've tried getting their journalists to speak candidly for projects and documentaries, only to be met with polite refusals. Whether it was fear of professional backlash or simply a network policy, they stayed silent.
The court jester always spoke truth to power. The court jester is alive and well, and his name is P to the E to the R to the E to the Z, H to the I to the L to the T to the O to the N.
yeah, and I just found that to be very, listen, I'm doing a job, you're doing a job. It's your job to be on the red carpet.
Yeah.
Yes, it sure seems that way. She dismisses everybody on these carpets, it seems, or makes you drink her booze or do her stuff.
That's why it was such a surprise to hear one of their senior reporters speak so openly during a Page 6 radio broadcast. This wasn't vague commentary, it was a direct statement. They were anti-Blake Lively. That level of bluntness, especially from someone in a position that depends on maintaining celebrity relationships, was unheard of. It wasn't just one person either. Colleagues joined in, some staying neutral, others nodding in agreement, hinting that this sentiment isn't rare in media circles. The real shock wasn't just what they were saying, but the fact they were saying it out loud. For an industry that thrives on carefully controlled narratives, this was a crack in the armor, one that felt like it could widen quickly.
Sharing feelings about Blake. Honest feelings about Blake. I want you to hear
Team
this.
Justin, but I'm firmly not Team Blake Lively.
Yeah.
I'm anti-Lively.
Okay,
You're
yeah.
anti-Lively.
And I'm neutral on him, I guess.
Gotcha.
But
Okay.
definitely not her.
I feel like a lot of people feel the same way
Yeah.
that you feel in this situation. Yeah.
The first story shared took us back to the press junket for Cafe Society, a film where Blake was promoting alongside Woody Allen. Press junkets are usually polite, heavily managed events. In this case, the reporter had been instructed to ask a pre-approved, harmless question, the kind of softball query that's more about giving the star a nice soundbite than pushing for real insight. The question was simple: what do you love about the 1930s? It tied into the film's setting, and her publicist had already approved it. Instead of answering graciously, Blake reportedly snapped back.
Dave, I've read everything. I've spoken to sources, people who don't want their names out there, who are sharing because they're afraid. And now it's nice to see others are becoming less afraid. So I encourage more and more people.
Asking if the reporter had even seen The Age of Adeline, pointing out it covered multiple decades. Then, without much pause, she walked away. The reporter was left stunned. Not because the question was particularly clever, but because it was such an unexpectedly cold reaction to something so harmless. For someone in the middle of a promotional tour, this kind of response can sour relationships with the very media outlets meant to amplify their work. It wasn't a scandal in itself, but it became one more brick in a growing wall of industry frustration.
This is the problem. She's so mean to people, she turns off actual fans of hers. I've learned this myself through other interviews I've done.
Another Page Six figure recounted a tense moment during the press run for Savages. Reporters had been told Blake would walk the press line, a standard routine where each outlet gets a short interview. They waited for hours, only to be told she wouldn't be doing it. For journalists on deadline, that kind of last-minute cancellation isn't just disappointing, it's costly. Collectively, they pushed back, refusing to accept the snub. Her publicist eventually brought Blake over, but imposed strict rules, only one shared question for the entire press group. The chosen question was light-hearted: how do you stay in shape? And Blake's answer, I just eat cupcakes all day, made headlines at the time. It was quirky enough to get picked up widely, but looking back, the reporter began to wonder if it was actually a condescending dismissal. What felt like a playful celebrity moment in the moment began to look different in hindsight, especially alongside other stories of curt interactions. It's a reminder that sometimes what plays as charm in print doesn't feel so charming to those on the receiving end. In celebrity press culture, publicists hold enormous influence. They decide who gets access, what questions can be asked, and how long interviews will last. Many reporters will never openly criticize a publicist because doing so can mean losing access to not just one celebrity, but an entire client roster. In this case, the publicist involved had a strong reputation in the industry, though not everyone agreed with it. While some reporters diplomatically praised her, others admitted privately they were less impressed. What made this exchange so unusual was hearing on-air comments that weren't entirely glowing. In the world of entertainment media, where relationships are currency, going on record with negative impressions can be risky. It suggested that frustration had reached a point where even the fear of professional consequences wasn't enough to keep people quiet. That shift in tone might seem small, but in an industry where celebrity images are often protected by layers of gatekeepers, it's the kind of moment that can signal a deeper change in how stars and their teams are perceived by the press. Just as the media conversation was heating up, the legal side of Blake's world took a surprising turn. In a recent filing, her team suggested that Perez Hilton, one of the most polarizing figures in celebrity gossip, had been paid off to cover her negatively.
And this is also ongoing with other journalists that she has tried to do the same with. Ridiculous.
The implication was that Perez's commentary wasn't just opinion, but part of a coordinated smear campaign funded by a high-profile lawyer. On paper, it's a bold accusation, but when you look closer, it doesn't hold up. Private communications from the parties involved paint a very different picture.
Look, they're trying to say that Perez was paid for by Brian Friedman's office, that they somehow, as Brian used to rep Perez at one point, I think, and so therefore there's this whole debate of did they fund Perez and his coverage of Blake? Nonsense.
One where Perez wasn't exactly held in high esteem by the same people accusing him of being on their payroll. It raises the question, why would a legal team risk its credibility by suggesting a deal that not only seems improbable, but also contradicts their own past remarks? In the court of public opinion, this claim landed awkwardly, casting more doubt on the accusers than on Perez himself. And for those following the case closely, it added yet another twist to an already tangled web of personal grudges and public statements.
Earlier today, the judge in the imagined victims lawsuit against Justin Baldoni put me on blast. Lying Lyman literally scolded me publicly.
The biggest hole in the claim against Perez Hilton comes down to simple logic. If the parties involved privately dismissed Perez as irrelevant and untrustworthy, why would they allegedly risk their professional licenses to work with him on something as sensitive as legal case coverage? The gossip world thrives on speculation, but even seasoned followers found this leap hard to believe. Public records and past interactions between the involved parties tell a story that doesn't align with the narrative being pushed in court. This isn't about defending every action Perez has taken in his career. Even his supporters acknowledge his controversial past. Instead, it's about recognizing when an accusation is more about creating a headline than presenting a viable case.
Taylor Swift reject Blake Lively has a team of really smart lawyers. And I think I'm smarter than all of them.
For observers, this tactic looked less like a calculated legal maneuver and more like a desperate attempt to control a narrative that's slipping away. In doing so, it risked drawing more attention to Perez's coverage and, ironically, making it more influential than it might have been otherwise. The filing didn't just raise eyebrows for its claims. It crossed a line by including photos of Perez Hilton's children.
They posted a photo of his kids in their response. Like, why? This is shameful. And props, they redacted it. That's why I'm sharing this with you. Like, what? This is crazy.
I have not seen my request from this week on your docket yet, and I am using this letter as another request to permanently redact or seal my home address in that filing, and all previous and future filings.
In celebrity disputes, public figures expect a certain amount of scrutiny, but bringing family members, especially minors, into the crossfire is widely considered off-limits. Whether intentional or not, including those images was seen as a serious breach of privacy. Even people who aren't fans of Perez agreed it was a step too far. In an age where doxing and online harassment are real threats, exposing personal details can have serious consequences. The backlash was swift among both journalists and the public, with many pointing out that this tactic not only undermines the credibility of the legal argument, but also paints the filer as vindictive. It shifted part of the conversation away from the original dispute and toward a broader discussion about ethical boundaries in celebrity coverage. No matter how heated a case becomes, dragging children into it is one move that rarely earns sympathy. What makes this moment so significant isn't just the specific stories about Blake Lively or the Perez Hilton twist. It's the broader shift in how journalists are willing to engage with celebrity behavior. For years, difficult encounters were quietly filed away, never to be printed for fear of burning bridges. Now, reporters are starting to share them openly, both in print and on air. The combination of social media and independent platforms has given journalists a way to speak, without going through corporate gatekeepers, making it harder for celebrity teams to control the narrative. As more voices come forward, the carefully maintained images of certain stars are facing real challenges. It's not about petty grudges. It's about peeling back the PR gloss to reveal the reality behind the scenes. This change could lead to a more honest, if messier, entertainment press, where fans get a fuller picture of the people they follow. Whether celebrities will adapt or push back harder remains to be seen, but the days of total narrative control may be numbered. In the end, this isn't just about Blake Lively, Perez Hilton, or a few tense interviews. It's about the ongoing tug-of-war between celebrity image management and journalistic integrity. When reporters start sharing what they've long been afraid to say, it signals that something in the industry is shifting. But change only happens when people keep speaking up. If you've worked in entertainment and have stories that shed light on the reality behind the red carpet, now might be the time to share them. And no matter where you stand on the personalities involved, one thing should be universal: keeping children and private family details out of legal and media battles. The public may enjoy the drama, but crossing that line turns a spectacle into something far more dangerous. As the conversation continues, one question lingers. In a world where reputations can be built or broken in a headline, who's really in control? The stars, the press, or the audience watching from the sidelines?